Dear participant, in the name of Science Europe, welcome to the presentation Science Europe Activities on Research Assessment Processes. The presentation will be given by James Morris, Senior Policy Officer at Science Europe, and myself. I'm Wolff-Boenisch. I'm the Head of Research Affairs at Science Europe. I'm leading the flagship project on research assessment, and I'm also the chair of the Task Force on Research Assessment. I think the importance of the research assessment to the research system is clear. The research assessment process represents a core activity of Science Europe members, consisting of research funding organization and research performing organization. Research assessment shapes many aspects of the research landscape and exerts influence on how research is performed and disseminated. Sad to say, research assessment has been a long-standing priority of Science Europe and was tackled through very different angles, such as research impact, peer review, gender equality, to just mention a few of our activities and publications. Science Europe activities on research assessment process tackled two topics, and the presentation today will focus on the first topic. It started everything in October 2018 when the Science Europe Governing Board mandated the Science Europe Office to launch a long-term activity with two topics. The first topic consists of the robustness of the selection processes, with the objective to investigate ways to ascertain that Science Europe member organizations' research assessment processes select the best projects for funding and researchers for career progression, and to do so in a fair and effective manner. So the system is robust if you can show or demonstrate that best projects for funding are selected indeed, and the best researchers, as well as in a fair and effective manner. The other topic, changing the rewards, incentives, and the matrix system of the research, has the objective to explore options and methods, how to change, how projects, outputs, and researchers are evaluated in a fair and transparent manner that is suited to the desired outcomes. As I said, the next slides and the presentation of the study will focusing only on topic 1. So under topic 1, we had 2 milestones to achieve. The first milestone was a flagship study implemented through an online survey and targeted interviews of Science Europe members and invited external research organizations. The other milestone is a Science Europe position statement and policy recommendations, which will be probably published in June or mid-summer 2020, and was based on the findings of the study and supplemented through an extensive consultation process with Science Europe member of the organization, as well as representatives of the research community from different research disciplines and all career stages, as well as other experts in the field. As I said, both the study report and the position statement will be published in early summer this year. Giving you an outlook for 2020, the next step will be addressing topic 2, changing the reward, incentive, and metric system of research. A proposal is being developed for consideration by the Science Europe Governing Board for the continuation of the activity. Tackling topic 2 will be based on several building blocks. As I mentioned in the previous work from Science Europe, as well as collaboration and consultation with the stakeholders in the research community, and our flagship project, the study and the future policy recommendation, as well as on the topic on excellence, based on a roundtable discussion on the topic at the General Assembly in 2019. With further ado, I will hand over now to my colleague, James, who will give you some snapshots on the results of the study.
Thank you, Bonnie. I'll begin with a little context regarding participation in our 2019 study. Firstly, 86% of Science Europe member organisations participated in the study, which covers both research funding and research performing organisations. Further, a number of external organisations were selected for invitation, of which 6 of the 7 accepted, including the European Research Council, Wellcome, and the National Institute of Health in the USA. The high engagement rate that we saw in this study likely reflects the perceived importance of this topic for the entirety of the research system. I will begin by highlighting findings related to the common state of approaches used in assessment. Here, it's clear that despite the diversity in programs and schemes offered by participating organisations, there are a number of well-established commonalities. Multi-stage assessments are prevalent, and the use of external single-blind reviews and panel reviews are most common. Ranking and internal single-blind reviews are less commonly used, and double-blind review, although much discussed, were only reported in major generic assessment schemes by one responding organisation. Continual efforts to improve the transparency of processes was deemed important by all responding organisations and covered all phases of assessment processes, from pre-application to post-result. In terms of the criteria used for selection, research quality is understood primarily by the novelty of the research in question, its methodological rigour, and its academic significance. Underlying this, however, there are some differences in the way that research organisations understand research quality. 62% of responding organisations do not have a formal definition of research quality, with some reporting that the specific criteria used in each programme determines the meaning of quality, whilst others report that the reviewers themselves determine what quality is. A number of common challenges are described by research organisations. Firstly, they describe a continual need to combat potential bias, discrimination, and unfair treatment in their processes. Pressure on assessment systems is perceived and linked to limited funds and the difficulty in distinguishing between many good proposals in a highly competitive applicant pool. The cost and efficiency of assessment processes is a continual concern for research organisations, particularly those that emphasise qualitative assessment. And finally, balancing the time and effort burdens placed on both applicants and reviewers is another common challenge described. Looking specifically into the author-level approaches used by reviewers in assessment processes, we find that qualitative assessment is the most prevalent approach used and is deemed very important by those that use it. For quantitative tools, there is a split in response between those that use metrics and those that don't and are not considering doing so in the future. There was, however, mentioned by several respondents of a difficulty in guiding reviewers in conducting qualitative assessments and not relying on quantitative metrics where this is their policy. And this links to the common challenge described of the effort burden placed on external reviewers in such processes. In the face of numerous common challenges, a number of adaptations to processes are described by research organisations. However, alternative assessment processes in major generic schemes are uncommon and mostly confined to small-scale and pilot schemes. Changes to generic programs tend to be minor and incremental. We see the effects of community-level initiatives as a driving force for some of the current developments in assessment processes. Taking the San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment as an example, over half of the responding organisations are signatories, with others reporting signing other similar initiatives or being in the process of gaining compliance prior to signing. As a very general summary of our 2019 study, we can say that research assessment processes are generally well established, and that the implementation of novel assessment techniques is commonly confined to pilot programs and linked with specific rather than generic calls for funding or career progression. Numerous common challenges are faced by research organisations, and current adaptations to those challenges are mostly minor and incremental. As such, an overarching rationale for the recommendations that we'll be proposing is that the current assessment system is effective but is under a variety of strains, and that concerted changes are needed to ensure that it continues to function appropriately in the future.
The Research Assessment Study of Science Europe takes stock of the present and changing best practices of the study participants. The Future Science Europe position statement intends to provide policy recommendations to support changes to an effective but increasingly strained research assessment system. In this context, the debate on what excellence is will guide the future discussion on how to change the present rewards and incentive system. It will be essential that this debate is held collectively among all research stakeholders and the research community to find common solutions to jointly change the research culture. Before I close the presentation, I would like to thank the members of the Task Force on Research Assessment, especially the representative of the member organization, as well as my colleagues from the Science Europe office. And here I would like to thank in particular Maud Everard, Head of Policy Affairs at Science Europe. The co-design approach which we had in early 2019, I think it was a very interesting and fruitful approach. So thank you to all again. If you have further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. You can find here our email addresses. I hope this presentation was useful to you, and I wish you a nice day. Goodbye.